Hey you guys, I am Alicia and this is TeagueHousehold, and today I'm talking to you guys about how to deal with parents who have different opinions or different parenting styles than your own. And the whole reason that I even wanted to talk about this in the first place was a post that I saw on Facebook a couple weeks back. And the whole situation ended up being a mother was asking for some help because a friend of hers was parenting or had started doing this discipline technique that she didn't necessarily agree with. And she wanted to know how to handle it because she's like, it's my friend, but I don't feel comfortable saying, hey, I'm uncomfortable with that, or I disagree with that. What should I do? And it kind of turned into this huge spiral of, well, this is the way you have to discipline, or I discipline this way, and this is the only way that works, and book recommendations, and just all these things that the original poster didn't really get a solid answer. And then I noticed this trend kind of came up frequently in some of my parenting groups. Someone would ask a question like, hey, how do I handle this situation? And then all of a sudden you're turning into like a much, the whole post is suddenly like this crazy blob mess of everything under the sun without actually answering the question. So when you're dealing with a parent whose opinion is different than yours, um, you probably only care that it's different than yours for one of two reasons. The first reason that you care that it's a different opinion is because you very strong, like something doesn't feel right about it. Whether you disagree with it or you think that that's wrong, or just, wherever you're at, something about how they're doing it feels wrong to you. Or the other reason is you feel kind of guilty or bad, or maybe you're questioning your own parenting, like, ooh, maybe I'm the one who needs to do a different technique or whatever. So those are really going to be your bases on why you even care that somebody's doing something differently. Because the reality is everybody is different. We all do things in our own way. Perfect example is me and my husband clean the kitchen completely differently. I do it one way and he does it a completely different way. But I'm not going to walk into that kitchen and be like, how I do it is blah, blah, blah. Because at the end of the day, the kitchen gets cleaned. So it doesn't really matter if the dishes are all in the sink or all on the stove or all, lined up or just scattered all over the place. It doesn't really matter because the kitchen's going to get clean. So I'm going to let him do it the way he wants to do it, and I'm going to do it the way I want to do it, and he doesn't come in and bother me about the way you should clean the kitchen. Um, the end result is a clean kitchen. And at the end of the day, the majority of us as parents are trying to raise good children or good humans. We're trying to instill kindness and compassion. We're trying to, you know, teach them how to function in society without being total jerks. I have yet to run into a parent who's like, I hope I raise a jerk, man. That's my goal. No, nobody wants to do that. So the reality is most of us are trying to create the same end goal, and most of us are going to do what feels good and comfortable to us because we're looking at different pictures. We're looking at the same end goal, but maybe we want to get there in different ways. So when that happens, first of all, is the child in danger? Okay, if you have somebody who is doing a particular technique or method that's different than yours, is that technique or method causing harm to the child? Probably not, okay? Most of us are dealing with issues on lower scales, okay? We're dealing with issues like they watch TV and we don't, or they do fast food and we don't, they do this and we don't, or, you know, wherever that is. Like, that's kind of the thing. It's going to be more on those levels of things, okay? Very rarely do we find ourselves in a position where we're actually questioning if children are in actual harm and danger, okay? So that's kind of the angle I'm going, is that the majority of us are dealing with low-key issues that really don't matter at the end of the day. If your kid has, you know, a Happy Meal, or I don't know, chicken nuggets at home or chicken nuggets in a box. I mean, who cares? Um, so for me, that's the first thing that I'm going to be questioning myself on, is the child in danger? Probably not. And then, so then I'm going to be like, okay, well, why do I disagree with that? A lot of times I am pretty quick to determine, oh, that makes me uncomfortable because of whatever my reasoning is. But in a lot of these situations, it's not that big a deal. And if you can really kind of take that second to kind of step yourself back and be like, okay, why do I think this is wrong? Or why do I feel like I don't agree with this? You can typically not necessarily talk yourself out of it, but you can kind of get to this point where it's not going to bother you the same way. Now, on the flip side of that, let's say you're the parent who the other parent has a problem with. Like, wow, I think that the way you handle that is wrong. It's so easy to get angry when someone tells us that we're wrong, or defensive when we're wrong, okay? Like, if somebody comes up to me and is like, I really don't know if you knew or not, but there's this really great technique that you should try. My first response is not to necessarily be, oh yes, please tell me all about it. It's kind of more like, whoa, who are you and why do you think I need your help or opinion or whatever? Hey, there's a child right there. Sorry about that, you guys. My kid woke up, but we're back now. Anyway, point I was saying, if a parent comes up to you and is like you're the one that they have a problem with, it's super easy to get into this defensive mode. Like, oh yeah, well, blah, blah, blah. I think the way you do this or whatever. The thing that I have found to be the most effective in shutting down that situation, and that's my big thing. I don't like to get into these drama cycles. I'm really into like shutting down situations that really don't have business going on. And I mean that just in a, I don't deal with drama of, oh, what you should do or what he should do or she should do, or what I don't do that. What I have found to be the most effective is to just kind of just say, oh wow, thanks for your opinion, thanks for the tip. You don't need to do it in this like nasty, sarcastic, rude way. I really do feel like when I take that in and just kind of like, oh wow, thanks for that opinion. That's kind of where it ends. Okay, most people are not coming at you trying to be this child therapist, psychologist, counselor, whatever. They just want to feel like they've said something because they feel like they're right, and that's kind of where they just want it to end. Okay, nobody really, you know, we all want to be liked, we all want to feel like we're doing a good job, we all want to feel like our way is the best way. And when I handle it like, thanks for that tip, or oh, that's a good suggestion, 9 times out of 10 I have the parent who's like, oh well, you're welcome, and walks on with their day. And I don't deal with a whole lot of drama situations because of that. So that's okay. So if you are the parent that someone has an issue with, um, and again, you know, just like we probably have an issue with a person because we feel like they're doing something wrong or we are doubting ourselves, that person is coming at us from a very similar spot. So they themselves feel like we're doing something wrong, or they themselves are doubting their own parenting. So when we come at it and just respond super chill, like, oh, thanks for the suggestion, or oh, that's an interesting perspective, or whatever. A lot of times, what that's going to do is create for the other parent, first of all, oh, they took my suggestion. And then you're going to give them just that little bit of a confidence. You're right, I'm doing okay. Okay, so now you've kind of got them in two spots where the two things that they're coming from have been addressed and they're going to go on their way. So they don't really, people don't really care about strangers. Okay, sad reality, whatever it is, that's the thing. So if a parent is actually coming to you and saying something randomly and they don't know you, then, you know, whatever, let it be. And if it is somebody who knows you, okay, so let's say you have a friend who comes up to you and is like, hey, I noticed that you've been, you know, yelling a lot lately. I just, you know, was wondering if maybe you thought about maybe trying this. Well, again, though, that's your friend. That's somebody that you confide in. That's somebody who's on your team or should be on your team. So maybe what they're suggesting to us has some level of validity. Maybe there's some level of truth in what they're trying to say. You know, that doesn't mean go jump on their bandwagon and do what they're doing. But if they're coming to you with, hey, I've noticed X, Y, Z, whatever, maybe that's a chance to really kind of look for a second, like, huh, am I doing this? Am I yelling a lot? Why am I yelling a lot? Maybe I do need to work on, you know, focusing on first time listening with my kids a little bit more than I have. Um, you know, like, we're not trying to create drama. I don't think people want to create drama in this huge level of, I'm the superior parent and you must all listen to me, or, you know, oh, I'm going to go out today and make mom cry. Like, I don't think people do that. I don't think we're looking for that. I do think that we're looking to be heard and valued, and that's going to come from sharing our opinion or feeling like our opinion is right. Okay? So there's that side. If you're dealing with a situation, though, where you can't ignore it, like, you know, again, maybe the child's not in harm, but maybe it's something that you don't agree with for um, religious reasons or environmental reasons. I've heard of you know, like all kinds of different reasons that come up under the sun. Um, you know, really just kind of examine that. You know, you don't need to be friends with everybody, but you also don't need to go out there and blatantly arguing with everybody either. You know, just because, you know, your neighbor lets her kids play outside at 8 o'clock at night and your kids are in bed, that doesn't necessarily mean that your neighbor is wrong. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are right. It doesn't necessarily mean that there needs to be this huge confrontation thing. It just means that you guys handle things in different ways, you know, that you guys go about what you're doing in different ways, and that's totally fine to do. So I feel like I have kind of rambled for a few minutes, and I have a tendency of doing that. I'm sorry, you guys. I have my notes on my phone, but I a lot of times don't look at them or, you know, glance down at them. But I really want to hear from you guys. What do you do when you feel like there's a parent who you don't agree with? Do you feel like you have to defend like, do you feel like you need to defend your position, or are you able to just kind of brush it off and just be like, oh, well, that's their opinion, whatever? Like, what do you guys do? I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear in the comments, how do you handle when parents disagree with you? Are you able to let it go? Does it bother you? When you find that you disagree with a parent, why do you disagree with them? Is it because you feel like they're doing something wrong, or do you feel like maybe you're doubting your own parenting? Yeah, leave me a comment. Let me know how you guys handle this and what you think about this. Like I said before, I typically, if I have an issue with somebody's parenting, if their child is not in danger, I typically just brush it off. It's not the end of the world if somebody does one thing and we do another. Example would, I kind of use like TV. I've used a bunch of examples. Like if somebody wants to watch PJ Masks and another person doesn't want to watch PJ Masks, does it really make that big of a deal? Like, whose life is really, how does that another person's decisions truly show an impact on your own life? So I just kind of brush a lot of that off. Like, they do what works for them, and that's great, that's cool. Everybody's trying to get to the same goal, which is raising a kind, compassionate human who can function in society without being a jerk. And we all do that in different ways, and we all are focusing on that same goal. We might just do it in different, focus on that in different ways and different elements. And if the parent has an issue with me, like if somebody comes up to me and is like, hey, I've got this issue with blah, 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 a lot of times you can quickly kind of, let it go, but just be like, oh, thanks for the suggestion. Oh, that's an interesting perspective. Like just kind of, even if you aren't necessarily agreeing with it and you think that whatever they're saying is baloney, just being kind to them and just kind of showing that for that 10 seconds, 30 seconds that you cared that they said something is typically enough to just kind of let it go back to normal. And if it is a friend who's saying to you, like, hey, you've been doing a lot, or hey, I noticed that your kids do this a lot. Have you tried whatever? If it's a friend, that's somebody who's in your circle, that's somebody who you talk to, you confide in, and they're not necessarily right, they're not necessarily wrong, but maybe what they have to say does hold a level of truth in that. And so maybe that's worth glancing at as well. So anyways, thank you guys for listening to this podcast or watching this video. Please subscribe to us so you guys can hear more videos that are coming. Plus, it helps us out a lot if you do subscribe to us. And leave me a comment. Let me know, how do you handle when a parent, hello cat, how do you handle when a parent disagrees with you or how you do things? So thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're watching the YouTube video, you will notice that my cat is all over the screen right now. But if you're watching the podcast, you're just hearing my voice. You're not actually watching us on YouTube. But either way, subscribe to us. It does help. Leave me a comment. I want to hear your thoughts and what you have to say on this. And I will see you guys next week with another video. So thank you guys. Goodbye.